What's up, guys? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined by the BMF himself, Max Holloway, who looks to defend that title against Charles Oliveira. UFC 326. We're just over a week away. And Max, I saw from your YouTube channel, you're already in Vegas, a
hmm
flight that you're very familiar with, man. When you get on that flight and you come to Las Vegas, is there some kind of little click psychologically because your body is just used to this, like the adrenaline starts to go up? Do you feel it, or is it, pretty much standard business as usual?
I just standard business as usual. I think until fight week comes, things start turning up a little bit, and then of course the excitement of just being here in Las Vegas. It's called the Ninth Island for a reason. I cannot wait, man. I feel like I know Charles is loved by many fans, but I feel like that place is going to be filled to the gills with Hawaiians and Hawaiian flags. So I'm just excited to be back here in Vegas, and can look forward to March 7th to shoot Octagon with a Legend.
Do they all feel somewhat similar? I mean, you've obviously fought in the biggest fights, championship fights, arenas all around the world. Do they all feel kind of like they all have their own little feel depending on who you're fighting, where you're fighting, or does it feel really repetitive at this point?
I, no. It doesn't feel repetitive. I love it, man. I think so. When I get to that repetitive point, it's probably me telling myself, like, "What the hell? You need to get the hell out of this sport." So
Hmm.
at the end of the day, everybody get their own feeling, and especially with this one, I'm super excited for the Charles fight just because. Yeah, we did fight. Everybody's calling a rematch, but it's been so long. Charles said it himself. He was jiu-jitsu Charles at that point. Now he's an MMA guy, and I'm way different. Me and him built pretty good legacies up to this point. So I can't wait to go out there and right the wrong. I know the fans didn't get what they wanted the first one, so hopefully I can go out there and give the fans a show.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the first one because, obviously there's not much that annoys you in this sport. You're pretty in a good mood, you're not a trash talker or anything. I feel like when the issue comes up from the first fight though, that maybe it does irritate you slightly just because it's like he went in, like he made the decision to go in, and then it's like we're almost kind of act like that fight never happened. And
Yeah.
whereas you're like, I'm 1-0 against this guy. Like is am I reading that right? How do you feel about the first one?
I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? There's rules. I think so. It went past the time that's gonna count as a TKO, and then just the situation, the way they came out, they was coming out about it, and they still talking about it. It's like, bro, it's old milk already. We get to find out come March 7th. Like, stop. There's no need to talk about it anymore. Like, you said what you said. You said it was a neck injury. I just saw another interview talking about how he confirmed it, what he thought it was an esophagus, and he confirmed it wasn't, and he almost wouldn't be able to walk or something. That's some heavy stuff. So I'm glad that didn't happen, but it's like, you know I just feel like this is just me personally. It's like, why do you feel like explaining a situation that was 10, 11 years ago, bro? Just be like,
Mhm.
hey, if something happened, the doctors couldn't figure it out. We're here now. That's just the way I'm looking at the situation.
You know, I have the pleasure of talking to you ahead of all these fights, and there's kind of like a different story with each fight attached to it. What is it for you on this one? I mean, you got the BMF, you've got the history with him. You're still in the running for a lightweight title fight. For you though, what is the story going on? Like, how will you define this specific chapter of your career? What's it mean to you?
I mean, I think so. The whole story right now is just everybody going in on with this fight is just that if it's striking, it's me, and if it's grappling, it's him. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? This is mixed martial arts, and I saw a crazy stat. Some guy said that I only fight strikers in all of my career, my whole career. I don't fight grapplers. I'm like, okay, so like the narrative is for this fight. I feel like is like if we can keep it on the feet, it's me, and then if we go to the ground, it's like 200% him, which is crazy. I feel like we both fought at the highest levels. We hit the highest pinnacle of each sport. We got the titles in our weight class, and we fought the best fighters in our weight class for years now, and that just blows my mind. Even with the not only that about my ground, just because I don't do it, people think it's something. So I think that's the storyline in this fight. But people keep sleeping on Oliveira, even with his striking. It's not like Oliveira is going and shooting on these guys and then out grappling these guys. The reason why he's out grappling most guys, or he does finish guys, in his grappling is because he hurts him. You know, he hurts him on the feet, not on the ground, bro. He cracks him and then he tangled him up. So at the end of the day, I'm excited for it. You know, there's a lot of questions that people are asking, and you know, March 7th we get the answers live on Paramount for the USA fans, and with the Paramount numbers, I don't know if you've been seeing with the numbers, bro, with these number cards, the views that these guys are getting is just ridiculous. I'm excited to go out there. You know, this feels like when I fought Kelvin Cater on CBS. You know, it feels like that moment. Like, oh wow, we got this primetime spot, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna get new fans, and I can't wait. You know, I can't wait to introduce a bunch of new fans to the sport, and you know, show everybody who the BMF is.
You know, I know how competitive you are when you say, when you notice things like that where someone's saying, "Oh, he only fights strikers." Like, does part of you want to go to the ground with Charles Oliveira on March 7th?
We see what happens. You know, never say never. I know. You know, my coaches just keep killing me, keep seeing interviews of me talking about jujitsu and you know subbing him and whatever, and they laugh. But you know, at the end of the day, I've been saying, you know, and people call me crazy. Uh, is like you know the BMF thing to do would be to submit a submission artist. So and I'll never say never. You know, I'm gonna go out there find my fight done. I just can't wait for it, man. I think it's gonna. This is a huge fight. You know, Charles, I just actually saw another interview of him. I don't know why it's on my page all the time, but he was talking about how he's barely on decisions. He's barely on this. He barely get decisions. He don't
Hmm.
think this is gonna be a decision. He wants a finish. So, you know, I feel the same. You know, I like finishing guys too. You know, yeah, I have more decisions than him, but we see what happened. I can't wait for March 7th, man. I'm so excited for this fight. It's gonna be a fun one, and I think the fans are gonna be real winners because it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's a perfect fight. I mean, even before you fought Dustin, in my mind, it was like, well, if Max does win this fight against Dustin in New Orleans, the obvious call is to have him fight Charles. I mean, it's just such a fun fight. It's such a meaningful fight. He took that detour first and went down to Rio. How was that like for you? Did you find yourself a little invested in that one, like wanting him to win so that this perfect fight could stay intact? Did you feel any investment in that fight?
I mean, I wasn't invested or whatever, but of course I'd want him to win, you know, because he's still a top five guy. We had somewhat history, and you know he is a former champ, and I wanted to. I knew we were gonna cross paths at some point. Now that I'm 55, so with him going out there getting it done, you know, I was excited. You know, I didn't know that he was gonna be the next one, but you know, I always cheer for the guy, you know, because I want to shock down with him again.
Yep. You mentioned the BMF, and I'm putting together a story actually. I talked to Nate Diaz a little bit about it quite a bit about where that BMF thing came from and how it was, how he said it, and then it took on its life of its own. What do you think it's actually added to your legacy? Like, if that had never happened and you never wore the BMF, what's different? What do you think it's actually changed about your legacy?
I mean, I don't think the point down would have been as huge as it is now, to be honest. So, you know, shout out to Nate and Jorge for getting that done, you know, getting that fight done. They did it. And I think so they set up the moment to where I got to have the fight at 300 and, you know, have that moment. So I think it's huge, you know. I think so. Without it, I mean, I think I would have been out here grinding still trying to go for undisputed title like how I am now. I don't think it would change, but now with it here, it's just huge, bro. It's just different, you know what I mean, bro? I can't explain it. I know you can feel it. I know people feel it.
Hmm.
I know some people get crazy about this BMF title, blah blah blah. But it's like, bro, talk all you want. It's a fun fight. It's huge fights. We're headlining a freaking card here in Vegas. You know, it's insane. And then just also with the BMF aura period, you know, on Zuffa, you got Max Killerman asking for a BMF title in there. So at the end of the day, this thing is huge, bro. It's huge. It feels good, and I'm just happy that I get to be a part of it.
Forgive me for kind of getting in your business here a little bit, but like again, talking about this BMF thing, I'm curious, can you put some type of idea into it of what's it been worth to you financially? What has being a BMF champion impacted you financially?
I mean that you know we can't really talk about our contracts too much, but I mean you can see right away my face is changing, bro. It is what it is, bro. You know I'm not gonna talk about it too much to the guys, but it's been good, guys. At the end of the day, a lot of guys got a lot of things to say about this belt. It is I had the undisputed, I had the interim, I got the BMF, and as I say, it's been very nice. I think that's all I can say about it. It's been very nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can read between the lines a little bit on that one. The last thing I want to ask you about, man, and I actually haven't talked to you about this guy for a long time, but uh, Conor McGregor is out there. He's posting on social media that he wants to come back. He said, he's talking about contracts and dates and this and that. And I just feel like you have this amazing opportunity to insert yourself into that conversation on March 7th. You go out and you fight another legend, a fellow legend like yourself and Charles Oliveira. You have one of those big moments that you're known for. Then you're on the mic. Do we hear the name Conor McGregor out of you at all on post fight?
Yeah, we see what happens. First things first. Like, how much times I always tell you this. How much times we see guys talking about the future, and they kind of forget about the fight in front of them, and then they fall straight on their ass. So at the end of the day, bro, Charles is a killer. He deserves and is getting all my respect and all my attention. But after this, bro, there's so much. I have history with the interim title in our weight class. I have history with the undisputed title holder in our weight class. And then what you said, Conor McGregor, I have the BMF title, and the last time I checked, the BMF title was at 170 before. So we see what happens, we see what happens. If it's, I just got to go out there and, like you said, make a moment. If I can make a moment, imagine a 300 moment all over again. Holy shit. You know what I mean? The world is ours. So that's what I'm going to go out for. I'm going to go out there, try and make a moment and, try and show everybody who I am, remind people who I am, and go out there, get my hand raised.
As obviously someone who's involved in the sport, watches the sport, loves the sport. I do want to ask you, I mean, you fought Conor once, and then, there's always been that possibility of you guys fighting again. Did it get on your radar? What did you think of him being linked to rumors of Carlos Prates? I would just like your honest opinion on what you think of that rumor.
I think that was left field. I was like, what? But then when you look at it, it'd be fun, right? Because Carlos Prates is a striker. He's not going to shoot. Conor's not going to shoot, and they're both southpaws. And Conor and Prates got, I don't know what the hell he got in his left hand or his left knee or anything in his body. Because when he's touching people, people are exploding. So I think that would be a fun fight, to be honest. But that was left field. I was like, like when I think of Conor. You think of live it more names that's been around, or live it. Carlos Prates, I'm not disrespecting him and saying he's not a big name, but I just thought so. Live it more guys who just live it around longer would live it bigger names than that. But that fight could be fun for sure. When I saw it, I was like, oh wow, that's a left field. That was a curveball, but that
Yeah,
could
me too.
be a certainly fun fight, especially for Conor. They want Conor to come up. And if Conor don't want to worry about wrestling, look no further. What Proctor is gonna do? He's gonna get in your face and try and land some sick elbows or that left hand or some knees.
Yep. Yep. Well, we'll see what happens. And sometimes I feel silly asking you about Conor McGregor, but he is right there. He is, and you're still in the title picture. So why would you be thinking about Conor McGregor? But it would be a really fun fight. I know you've wanted it in the past. So,
Yeah, it'd be a fun fight. I mean, getting one back against everybody who got one over me would be awesome. So, yeah, thank you.
well, I'm looking forward to it, man. We missed you in the second half of last year with a hand injury, but now you're back. Hoping to see you a few times this year, and nothing but big fights, of course, with you involved. And really looking forward to sitting in that arena and watching you and Charles do it on UFC 326, man. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.